أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my dear sister. So in response to your question about being alone and having difficulties interacting with other people, and as a result avoiding social situations and having a really hard time generally interacting with other people, to the point that is causing you to feel depressed at the end of the day. Certainly what you're describing here does sound very much like you are experiencing some kind of social phobia or social anxiety disorder, in which case it does need addressing because it's clearly affecting your daily functioning and it's ultimately making you feel depressed at the end of the day. So I would certainly recommend that you seek further help with this, especially since it's been a long-term and ongoing issue that's affected you since childhood. But for now, I can help you with a few strategies to, inshallah, make things a bit easier until then. So the first thing to do is to locate the cause of your social phobia, because this is generally then how we adapt coping strategies to respond to your specific cause of social phobia. And it could be a number of different things, but it's important to be aware of the different things that can cause social phobias and social anxiety. So obviously it can be very debilitating, and you know that, because it's causing you to withdraw from social situations, and ultimately it's making you feel depressed. So, it's really affecting your life, and it's something that you do need to get further advice about as well. Now, there are a number of different potential causes of social phobias and social anxieties, but you yourself would know your own background, and you'll be able to perhaps determine for yourself what you believe the cause of it to be. So some people say that it's a physiological disorder, that there's actually a physiological component within the brain that is responsible for this response of fear that you're experiencing, therefore resulting in this over-exaggerated fear response to social situations that you seem to be having. So that's one explanation. Many other people say that it could be a learned response. So either you've had maybe someone in your family, somebody who's close to you, like your mum, for example, or your dad, who also has difficulties in social situations. So since being a child, you would have experienced this kind of behavior, and therefore it's kind of rubbed off on you, and you've become the same kind of person who's had these difficulties in social situations. Likewise, it might be as a child you had a bad experience. Maybe you were bullied. It might have been a long-term thing. It could have been just a one-off thing. But now you have this association between being with other people and the negative experiences that come with it. So you have this anxiety when in social situations because you have this association with a negative experience you might have had in childhood as well. And this is obviously going to have some kind of impact on your self-esteem, which can have a knock-on effect then in your social interactions and how comfortable you feel with other people. So this is another potential cause of the social phobia that you're experiencing right now. Obviously, these things can lead to negative thinking patterns, which, if you've had it since childhood, they'll be very well ingrained, and, you'll be repeating these negative patterns, repeating these negative thoughts in your head to the extent that you're really believing what you're telling yourself, and it can be very difficult to get out of. But also from an Islamic perspective, there might be another explanation as well. It might be that the negative thoughts that you have about yourself or about what other people are thinking of you are a result of shaitan's whispers or waswas. Maybe shaitan is the one who's convincing you that other people are thinking bad about you, or that you're not good in social situations, that you look funny or something, and that's why everyone's looking at you funny, or nobody wants to talk to you, or it's convincing you of these things. So that's another potential cause for social anxiety as well. But social anxiety and social phobias are actually a very common disorder. So rest assured, you're not alone in going through what you are. It's not something unique to you. There are many people going through this. But because of this, because it's so common, it also means that there have been many different coping strategies that have been established with a variety of different perspectives to address all the different potential causes of social phobia. So well, just to begin with, there is, you might be, if you have serious physical side effects of anxiety, because anxiety can lead to some quite serious side effects physically, you can get medication to treat these, if the muscles are constantly tense, if you've got a rapid heart rate, high blood pressure as a result of this phobia, then you can get medication to treat kind of these physical side effects of anxiety. So that's kind of like an option to treat the more physical side of things. It can also sometimes help with the psychological side of things as well. If you're more relaxed, then it can make it easier to interact with other people. So this is one potential option. But the most common option that's used as a coping strategy, mainly because the main theory really on where a social phobia comes from is regarding the thoughts, the maladaptive thoughts that people who have social phobias have, that they're having some kind of irrational thoughts that are impacting the way they feel and therefore the way that they behave. So commonly, the way to develop coping strategies is about cognitive restructuring. So looking at the way you're thinking about the situation, the thoughts that you're having about the situation, and how this is affecting your ability to interact. So questions you can ask yourself when you're feeling this kind of anxiety are, if you're having a negative thought, for example, I'm just going to draw on one particular example. It might be a very common example that's cited by people who go through the same as what you're going. So, for example, you might think that your friend or who you're talking to is thinking that you're just a fool, you're talking rubbish. That's what that's what you're thinking in your head, that the other person is thinking about you as you're talking, that's what they're thinking about you. So the thing you can ask yourself in these kind of situations is that, do you have any evidence to say that what they're saying is definitely true? Are they really looking at you funny because they think that you're talking rubbish? What evidence do you have? Have they actually said you're talking rubbish? Have they actually said that? Do you have any evidence to prove that? And then you want to think about, is there anything else it could be? Why is this person looking at me funny? Are there any other reasons why she might be pulling a funny face at me while she's talking to me? And also think about, what would you say to somebody who is in the same situation? So in this example, you think that your friend is thinking that you're talking rubbish. Or maybe she thinks that you're weird because they're looking at you with a funny face. So this is what you're thinking. They're not thinking good of me. So what we can do now is take this thought and come up with an alternative. So in this example, it might be that the other person, your friend, has a funny look on the face because actually they have something serious on their mind. They're going through problems at home. They might even just be thinking about what they're going to make for dinner tonight. They have something on their mind that they're distracted by, and that's why they have a funny look on their face. So thinking about alternative reasons why they might be looking at you funny. And when you think of it from this perspective, when you think about it from a more rational and positive perspective, how do you now feel about it? You probably feel a whole lot less anxious and a lot more willing to engage in social situations. So these kind of thoughts can be a result of poor self-esteem, which might have come through this learned response if you've had problems interacting with people historically. So you might work on your self-esteem by thinking and appreciating your strengths rather than focusing on the weaknesses and beating yourself up about the things that you're not good at. So think about the positive things about yourself and kind of work on your issues of self-esteem if this is a problem for you. And if you feel like you become physically aroused in social situations, you can feel your heart racing and you can feel yourself coming into a sweat, you feel nauseous as well, then another coping strategy is to use relaxation exercises as well to accompany these other coping approaches as well. And another approach that's commonly used to treat social anxieties is exposure therapy, which is gradually exposing yourself to a social situation. So especially in a case like your own where you're avoiding social situations. So you gradually expose yourself to a situation. So first of all, you might imagine yourself in a social situation and how you'll respond. And then you just gradually integrate yourself bit by bit and just get yourself slowly back into social situations, not diving right into it, but going bit by bit. So, for example, you speak specifically about your friends and being with your friends and withdrawing with your friends. So Maybe spending a small amount of time with them and increasing it more, but beginning in an environment where you feel least anxious. So maybe invite them to your house and interact with them within your own home, because this is where you feel more comfortable. This is where you're going to be less anxious. And, invite them for coffee to begin with, something where they would only be around for a short amount of time. And then you can increase this time together as you feel more comfortable in the social situation. And then obviously from the Islamic perspective as well, there are many ways and many du'as that are available to help calm anxieties in any situation. Here obviously we're talking about a social situation. And like he tells us in the Quran, in Surah 13, Ayat 21, those who have believed and whose hearts are assured by the remembrance of Allah, unquestionably by the remembrance of Allah, hearts are assured. So remembering Allah, finding peace in the remembrance of Allah. And we can also look as well that there are a number of authentic ahadith that describe the du'as and the supplications that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to recite or recommend to others to recite when they're going through times of anxiety as well. So we can see that it's been an ongoing issue since the days of the Prophet ﷺ, and he even, prescribed these supplications to help people in these situations. So, for example, in Sahih Bukhari 6369, narrated Anas bin Malik, the Prophet ﷺ used to say, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from worry and grief, from incapacity and laziness, from cowardice and miserliness, from being heavily in debt, and from being overpowered by other men." So we see examples of du'as as well that are available for us to rely upon as well. So we can rely on a number of different coping strategies to help in times of social anxiety. So you can, complement the more psychological treatments, the psychological coping strategies with the Islamic coping strategies as well to, inshallah, help to overcome any anxieties that you had. But like I said, I would recommend in your situation to seek further help, to maybe be engaged in more intensive therapy to work on the thoughts that you might be having in social situations as well. So may Allah bring you ease in your anxieties and make it easy for you to interact with other people and to feel comfortable interacting with other people, inshallah.